known as Strega, Strigoi, and Upia, we are talking about the vampire. I promised you all it was coming, my spooky pickles, and here we are. I've done a lot of research. There's so much more I could have done. It could be a very long video, but to not bore you all, we're going to get right into it. It's not going to be too long. If y'all want another part, I could do so many parts to this. But today, we're going to get into the origins of the vampire. So I'm so excited. I've done so much research for this. And of course, I have notes. If you see me looking to the side, it's because I have to check my notes. Because we all know, if it's not written down, I'm not going to remember it. So, we're going to start off from the very roots of what I can find of where the vampire comes from. It comes from as far back as Mesopotamia, I believe. That's where most things I can find come from. If anyone knows any different, let me know. It means, from Hebrew, Greek, and Romans, the Greek lamia, or the lamiae, it was a creature. And I found out where from, and of course, it's got to do with the Greeks. Zeus, naughty boy Zeus, and Hera. What do we think is going to start here? So, of course, Zeus was very naughty and had one of his many affairs with a queen called Lamia. And, of course, he was caught because Hera's not stupid. She's a queen. She's very knowledgeable. And, of course, she gets pissed off. But not at Zeus because he's probably a bit more powerful. But who does she get pissed off at? The poor queen, who's just a human, really. And it's probably tricked because, Zeus is a bit shady. Strike me down if you're really out there, Zeus. Okay, I think we're good. So, Harry gets all pissed off and curses Lamia and kills her children, which is awful. Not only that, she decides to physically curse her and change her so that her top part, it's sort of like Medusa, her top part is like human, but without the snakes, I believe. And her bottom half is like a snake. And she's cursed, sort of like an inversion of the mother she was, to prey upon children. That's really messed up, innit? I mean, come on, Hera. It's supposed to be about family and stuff, it's not this queen's fault that Zeus can't keep it in his pants. But that's one of the first sort of origins I can find about the vampire. Sorry if I'm shaking. I'm going to try and get a stand for my camera, but I need money. If you want to send me any, feel free. So yeah, so she'd prey upon children, and there's lots of different accounts. So some say she ate them, some say she just drained the blood, some say she just killed them. There's lots of versions, but either way, she's turned into this inversion of the mother that she was and been broken-hearted over losing the children to preying upon children. Another version I found that's really old that was interesting and wild. I love it. Not the bloodshed and the killing, but just the story is messed up, but I love it. So, I want to look to get the names right. There is, in ancient Egypt, Sekhmet was, I think she was a goddess, but she worked for the sun goddess Ra, the sun god Ra. God, oh, don't strike me down either. So sorry about that. I'm not editing it. You can just deal with it. So, Ra gets all annoyed one day. And he's like, there's some humans, they're plotting against me. You need to go and kill them. You need to teach them a lesson. So she's like, right, okay, that's the job. She gets a bit too bloodthirsty. Because when she gets a taste for human blood, it said that she became ravenous and couldn't stop herself. And even after she killed all of Ra's conspirators, people conspiring against Ra, she just indiscriminately started killing people because she got a taste of the blood. Also, she sounds so cool, because not because she killed people, but it said that she had a head of a lion, but the body of a female human. So, can you imagine how sick that looked? Anyway, she's getting about killing everyone. She's killing everyone. I was like, we can't have this. I don't want her to kill everyone. I just wanted her to kill some people. So what he has to do is he fills a river with alcohol, and I'm guessing red wine because it said he dyes it red. So I'm just going to say red wine because it makes more sense. He filled this river with red wine, and she thinks it's blood, so she goes and gulps a load down, passes out because she's drunk. She's drunk a bucket load of booze. And then when she wakes up, she comes around and she's like, "Yeah, I best get myself back off to Ra, actually." And that's the only thing that stops her. She gets wasted, basically. And has to wait till she comes around with a hangover to be shook back into reality. It's like, no, this isn't the mission, love. I only wanted you to kill some people. So yeah, I found that really entertaining that one of the servants of Ra, this lion-headed goddess called Sekhmet, pretty much had to get wasted to come back around after all this bloodlust. So yeah, I don't know if that has to do with lots of vampires drinking like red wine and stuff, but it just made me laugh. And apparently lots of devotees, after this story, started to dye their alcohol red in honour of her. I'm glad they didn't start drinking blood, to be honest, but that just makes me laugh. So there you go. Anytime I drink red wine from now on, I'm going to think of Sekhmet getting wasted, drinking loads of alcohol from the river. I'm not going to do it. I don't want alcohol poisoning. It's just funny to me because I'm a bit weird. Checking my notes. So yeah, so the actual origins from where it starts is like where people got a bit worked up. It comes from a lot of disease. I want to make sure I get the disease right. Tuberculosis was believed to be related to tuberculosis a lot because tuberculosis was a degenerative disease. Oh, I can't get my degenerative disease. Come on, sort your shit out. A degenerate disease. They would affect your lungs, and obviously the tissue around the lungs, it would degenerate. I said it. And if you'd cough up blood, and there'd be blood around your mouth. And people back then got a little bit worked up very easily, and that was associated with vampirism. Also, the fact that, in like the 15th, 16th century, we didn't know a whole lot about medicine. We was using leeches and bloodletting, and for epilepsy, see my bloody countess video, they used to rub blood on people's lips to solve epilepsy. That's a real thing. So we can't blame people for getting a bit hysterical thinking that people were vampires because they was coughing up blood. But a lot of the misconstruing that happened, I know that's not a real word, I'm sorry. I can't think of the real word. I'm going with it. That happened around, so the people that would come alive from the grave was just that they was misdiagnosed and they was probably in a coma and they didn't check everything properly, so they'd wake up and be like, oh shit. And I can't remember which exact century it was, but there used to be like bells next to coffins and caskets that used to be like buried, so that if someone was alive or, suspected to be a vampire, you'd ring the bell so someone could come and dig you up and have a check if you were a vampire, or just misdiagnosed and buried alive. That's terrifying, but also I think I might get buried with a bell just in case. I think I'd feel better about it. You'd ring the bell. Can you imagine that though? In the night, someone just going around checking the graveyard and there's a bell going off. Holy shit. That's terrifying. So yeah, that was a thing. Also, decomposition wasn't understood a lot. So obviously you would go through rigor mortis, but also at some stages, I can't remember the exact stages, I'm sorry. Some stages of decomposition, you would actually go quite bloated and red. And some people, if you were suspected of vampirism, if you were dug up at that point, you'd look sort of like red and bloated and like ruddy skinned, and they'd think that was because you'd gorged on blood, but it actually is just a decomposition process. We obviously understand a lot more medically now, but back then they'd just be like, why are they so bloated? Why are they so red? They're supposed to be dead, aren't they? Just wasting away. And also, with decomposing, your fangs, like your gums would recede, so obviously your fangs would look bigger. And it weren't because they were growing, it's because your body was wasting away, making your fangs look longer and more pointy. So, there you go. I'm going to check my notes, I'm very sorry. Yeah, the first written reference for vampires was in Russia in 1047 AD. I didn't know that. 1047 AD, there was written accounts of vampirism. And sorry, they refer to it as Upia, which means they that feast or sacrifice, and it was a euphemism because, like, we say the word vampire now, but that might not even be the real word as to what people meant because they talk in euphemisms because it's a bit like Voldemort. Like, sorry, they wouldn't want to say the real name because they think it gives it power or it would call upon the being, and they didn't want to do that because back in those days people were really superstitious. Like I said, you used to get buried with bells. So they wouldn't call things what they actually were. A bit like cryptids now, like you wouldn't say a certain thing, you'd say a not day or a windy boy. And I don't mean gassy. If you want me to do a cryptid story, actually I'm going to do one anyway. I am going to do some cryptid stories. If you don't understand those references, you'll find out soon. But they wouldn't want to use the real names for things because they believed it would call it to it or draw them near or give it extra attention and power. So they'd give it these euphemisms like the thing that feasts and sacrifices and stuff like that. So that was the first written account I could find as far back as I could written down of a vampire. And like I said, they would call it Upia. So yeah, Russia, 1047 AD was the first written account of the Upia, which was just a reference towards what the name might be. I don't know how it's transformed into a vampire because in, I want to check, Romanian and Italy, they used to call it strega, which actually means witch. So I think also what I could find was, it seems like the origins seem a bit more zombie-ish than vampire. Like a living zombie that's sort of like a witch that will drink your blood. Every early account that I came across was sort of like to do with spellcraft or living dead. And not all of them drank blood. Some of them did, some of them didn't. Some of them just tore you apart. Some ate your flesh, some drank your blood. So I don't know why Strega, which means witch, and vampire got put together, but it did. So I might even do a video about zombies or zombieism. Is there a word for zombies that isn't? I don't know. Someone tell me. But yeah, it seems a lot like closer related to zombies. It's only like in the recent sort of history that they've become these vampires, you know, like Bram Stoker's vampire, Dracula, sorry. You know, like Gary Oldman in the film and the book, and Keanu Reeves. Sorry. Gary Oldman as well is pretty hot, to be fair. I don't care how old he is. But that's more like the more recent history of the vampire, like that they'd be all charming, suave, and travelling coffins, or some legends, like in Dracula, said you'd have to carry some of their dirt from the homeland to make sure that they didn't disintegrate and didn't lose the power and this, that, and the other. I still can't seem to find many references as to why they were supposed to turn into bats. I think that might have something to do with the Lamia because she was transformed, but not into a bat. So I can't figure that one out. Again, if I find more out, I'll make another video. We're already getting like 15 minutes in nearly now. Sorry, I ramble a lot. But if you're a part of my channel, you know. So I'm assuming you enjoy my ramblings. Anyway, I was trying to figure out as well why the whole thing about the mirrors and they couldn't see the reflection, and lots of sources said they could, lots of sources said they couldn't, lots of people just said they didn't like it. As far as I can find though, apparently they couldn't because it was like this component of silver they used to use in old mirrors, and because silver is like a pure metal, again, like with the werewolf and stuff, you'd use a silver bullet or you'd use a silver cross or a silver stake against certain things. So I believe it's because something to do with the purity of silver and how it used to be used in the making of mirrors was why that myth legend became a thing. Also, in a lot of like newer vampire tales, that's not a thing because the way they make mirrors has changed. they actually use more aluminum-based materials to make mirrors now. So that's a little science fact for you there. So in a lot of recent retellings of things, vampires can see their reflections. Also, a lot of things that I found were saying it's because they didn't have a soul, or that the light would pass through them because they were soulless. I can't find a real exact reason as to why you have to invite them in either. I found a lot of metaphors though, so it's like inviting the monster into your life and you have the power to let it become part of your life or into your world kind of thing. It's quite dark and metaphorical. So yeah, but a lot of the research that I found was didn't have to be invited in, and some was more euphemistic, like you have to. It's not like bad habits. Like you have to welcome it into your life. You have to choose it. You have to pick it up. You have to let it in. So that's what I could find. If I find any more, I will make another video because I like learning about vampires. I like werewolves, obviously. Look at the channel you're on. Of course I like it. I'm trying to see if there's any more that I've missed out for you. Don't think I have. But yeah, it was classed as demonic folkloric figures. I think some people would still class them as demonic, some people wouldn't. It's only more recent that they've become attractive, like the very first few films like Nosferatu, it was not attractive. They didn't like light. Oh, another thing actually I remember, I didn't write it down, but I remembered. One of the things, I can't remember the name of it, but there is actually a condition where you are so sensitive to light it hurts, or especially like sunshine, like your skin will have a really bad reaction to it, or your eyes will be so sensitive, so you have to wear sunglasses. And a lot of people, obviously, because medicine, would misconstrue that and be like, oh, you're a vampire because it's just different, it's weird. So that was something I found out, thought was interesting. I still don't know how Stephenie Meyer's got to the sparkling vampire thing, but to be fair, I do like Twilight because it's just, I don't know, pretty people. There you go, I'm shallow. Is there anything else I wanted to say? I can't remember. I don't think so. But yeah, it was more recent that they got more suave and, you know, used their animalistic proclivities, but decided to make themselves look pretty, and it was just like another string to their bow kind of thing. In hunting, they just have evolved with the times. So if they were real, evolving with the time makes sense. They don't want to look monstrous. They want to look all pretty and beautiful and charm people and want you to be drawn into them. That way they don't even have to work. It's quite predatory, actually. I found there are actual, like, real vampires in lots of other places. Lots in New Orleans, actually. Like, there are these groups called Sanguinians, I believe. And they do actually drink blood from willing participants. I think it's all checked medically, though. They do all blood tests, it's all safe. But they do actually feel better. Like, not a lot, I believe, just a bit here and there from their, not servitors, what would you call them? I forgot the name. Anyway, familiars. Yes, they would actually have real familiars, and like I said, they would actually get blood tests, which is, you know, a very good thing to do if you're going to drink someone's blood. I wouldn't recommend drinking anyone's blood, but if you're going to get yourself checked out, please. So yeah, these sanguinian vampires that would, to a degree, feed off their familiars. It was all completely consensual. I don't know if there was anything sensual about it. I don't know if they just felt the need to want to do it. I have heard some stories speak about they actually physically feel better when they do it. So I don't actually know if there's any science there or if it's all just like a placebo, but they enjoy it. Of course, you can have more energetic vampires, and that veers a little bit more into narcissism, which I'm not going to get into today, but people that will just sort of feed off your energy, if you know what I mean, and like, you know, after you've spoke to someone, it feels you feel tired and a bit drained because they've sort of just fed off you because you were like happy, lovely person, and they've just sort of sucked the life out of you, basically. Apparently there were groups of those. So yeah, I'm happy I remembered that because I didn't write it down. I should get more organised. I'm trying. I get excited. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you all have a lovely day, evening, whatever time it is where you are. I'll probably make another part. I am going to do some cryptid stories soon for Halloween. Also, I'm working on a video about, I believe it's called the Devil's Tramping Ground or the Devil's Circle. There's a few names for it, but that's coming. It's like this patch of ground. It's like a circle as well in America. I believe Appalachia, but I'm not 100% I'm remembering that correctly. Anyway, the video about that's coming up because it's really interesting. So yeah, keep your eyes out for all that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed my crazy ramblings, and I'll see you all soon, my spooky pickles. Toodly pips.